All right. So, Israel, with the backing of the United States, France, Germany, the UK, uh, and a few others in the so-called West, uh, again demonstrates a savagery, barbarism, which is centuries upon centuries long. It is the very concept of genocide that they say they stand against. Except they continue to do this. They talk about the end of colonialism, but never really gave away their control. They do it through their monetary controls, their economic levers, through their mafia-like so-called corporations who use mafia-like tactics of coercion. You know, you don't if you don't give us mineral rights to to mine your mineral rights, to have control over your energy fossil fuel energy sector, or or your banking, or whatever you want. It's all barbarism and savagery, and it's and study of history that's not been fed to you by the so-called winners shows that this is a historical fact that keeps repeating over and over and over. Aside from the so-called narrative of being of freedom, liberty, and human rights, and all that other garbage, it's always accusations followed by violence on a social level, on a economic level, on a material level, all across the board. And meanwhile, in their domestic fronts, all they do is perpetrate this idea of victimhood, of superiority, and all they need is to keep a certain section of their population to buy into this, so that whenever they make the accusations, whenever they carry out the atrocities, they can say, "Oh, we are the victims. We are the ones being targeted. We are the ones who are going to be wiped out. We are the victims." And so that's why we do all this savagery and barbarism. Why we commit genocide. Why we commit atrocities. Why we do everything we do that makes the others collectively pay in blood and treasure. Israel attacking Iran is a prime example. Israel is just a colonial settlement, a vicious, violent colonial settler territory, which is funded, which is backed, and the media, which the so-called West has used so brilliantly to demonize everybody, always projecting, and always doing it on a dual front, on the domestic level to the across the world, indoctrinating and conditioning. And those that don't follow this victimhood this superiority are made to be compliant, are made to just vocalize and march around with these little slogans rather than taking solid, concrete actions to put a stop to it. To take out the most vile elements, which is always the so-called state. The ones that say they are the leadership, the ones that vocalize in front of the cameras and pander to your better nature, and the ones that say peaceful protest while they send out the military to suppress and cause the violence. This is your so-called West. This is your so-called leadership. This is your so-called global leadership of the West. This is your so-called having moral character when it's contravened, sometimes within just minutes of stating otherwise. It's all contradiction, it's all lies, it's all to keep you tied down. The hardships that we here in the West, in the United States and the West, face, that we speak out about, but we won't do anything. Why? Because we've been made impotent, and some of us have been made to look out for number one, which is just us individually. Screw community, because community doesn't exist. There is no community. And even within our own populations, we bicker and fight, and we lash out rather than listening to each other, rather than coming together to help each other. And that is the system that so many still participate in, rather than cutting them out like a cancer, rather than pushing them aside and making them pay. And it's not just on the political front. If you haven't come to realize that your so-called corporations and your big companies and big wealth, which includes your banksters, your pharma, your energy, everything, including the so-called real estate and farming, and it's all been captured, and they are more than willing to commit the most heinous things, not just at home, but abroad, everywhere. It's about a dick measuring contest of the most vile elements. And that dick measuring is about how much money, how much control, how much they can do. It's like they want to one-up each other. And you got this completely pliant and complicit so-called political sector. It's a marriage between two, defined by Mussolini, who defined fascism is the marriage of corporate and political power. You know, Iran has no right to nuclear weapons, except that Iran has never wanted nuclear weapons. And that's been consistent. It's only the so-called West who keeps saying, oh, Iran wants nuclear weapons. Iran wants nuclear weapons. Oh, they're going to build one within weeks, within months. After decades upon decades of Iran saying, nope, we don't want nuclear weapons. As a matter of fact, Iran signed the Non-Proliferation Treaty. Something that the U.S. hasn't. Israel has nuclear weapons, but you don't see the IAEA going over. Why? Because Israel is a colonial settler state. And they have so radicalized and indoctrinated the overwhelming majority. And most of them aren't even European, aren't from the region. They come from Europe, from Russia, from U.S., from all over the world. Many of the so-called leadership have actually changed their names from their birth name to sound more Middle Eastern. It is just evil, utter evil. And these attacks happen, and we even have countries like Russia and China, calling for peace. Except, and Russia and China know the history. You cannot call for peace when it is known for a fact that the West does not want peace, always causes these conflicts, these wars. Always. It's a historical fact. It is a consistent historical fact. The U.S. did not get the way to the size it is by being peace seekers. They're the ones that killed off hundreds of millions of natives. Canada is just another example. They killed off hundreds of millions of natives. People need to really invest time to learn the history and say to yourself, if you were the other and this was done by somebody else, would you be all right with it? Would you not want to pick up a weapon and fight back? Would you not want to scream to the heavens and say, this is wrong? And the whole narrative is that, oh, we are the just, we are the moral, we are the standard bearers. And yet everything that is done contravenes all this. And meanwhile, the way they shape it is basically, you have no right. You have no right. If we target you and we commit violence on you on every level, you have no right to fight back. You have no right to protect yourself. That is what they do. And who's the ones in our system that does that? The mafia. We've all seen movies and TV shows about how mafia operates, or organized crime operates, and that's exactly what they do. Except the mafia and organized crime don't have a so-called media, a news media, to say, oh no, 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 no. We are the victims. They're the ones being the criminals. They're the ones doing all the violence. We're just here to protect and serve. And they feed you these lies. And they always point to the other as the cause. When you look actually at the government figures and all that other stuff, and you see that, oh, in fact, that the so-called Americans who are largely from Europe, or the whites, actually do more crime, more of everything, more violence than anybody else. But, you know, most of you won't look at those figures. Most of you, even if you do look at it, you'll be like, whatever. It's in one ear, out the other. It's see but don't see. This sort of thing, I can't say it shouldn't be up, but when it's done to others, I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't understand it. You can call it double standard. You can call it whatever the fuck you want, but I just don't get it. And I call that evil. Simply evil.